So welcome again to another edition of the Influencer Marketing Roundtable. It's lovely to see you. Now, although many of our existing members know who I am, I'm just going to do this for the benefit of those that are newly joined. Who am I? Well, Gordon Bannister. I'm a global podcaster, now in our fourth season. I'm also an author of Influencer Marketing Strategy, which has subsequently been published in Portuguese now, which has been very exciting. And actually was a shortlisted business book finalist actually this year, which I was very pleased about. I'm also a speaker and a panelist on all things influencer marketing and membership actually. Part-time, I also am a chief strategy officer of a global brand called Audience to Media, and we have about 130 million influencers on our platform. But as I mentioned, I'm also involved in the membership space. So I'm the founder of the Influence Division of the Branding Content Marketing Association, founder of my own community, Membership World, and co-founder of the Meetings and Event Support Association as well. I also run my own influencer program, which is all aimed at helping people become more influential. And I go through a 5-step process in order to make that happen. And if any of you are interested in having a further conversation about that, then you can just drop me an email and we can talk about it on another Zoom call. So today's roundtable session is going to be all about the perfect media deck. And this is really about when you're trying to, while we're talking about influencer marketing, the way I would really describe this is if you were creating a CV or a resume, for those of you that are in America, what would you put on there? I think what we're trying to do here is to create an environment where people can bind to you, book you as a speaker, book you as somebody that can write blogs, to run sponsored posts, and so on and so forth. So what I've done is I've just extracted a few examples of those that I have got copies of, media decks. These are largely for influencers and models or individuals. So, and there's just different ways of which people can describe what they do and how they do it. Fundamentally, if somebody's buying into you as an individual, what do they want to know about you? They want to, obviously, it's really important that you've got a visual, striking image that pretty much sums you up. So what does the image tell you about what it is you do? So I think that is a very important thing. It's not to say that you can't have more images, but what people don't want is reams, like 10 pages of a media deck. What they want is something ideally in 2 or 3 pages. So a brief description of who and what you are. I like here, for example, with Tanae, she's been involved with various press, like 3 Counties Radio. She's been involved in a Celebrity Insider feature, and she's been on various podcasts. What I also like is that she is a member of the BCMA. Whether or not it's the BCMA or any professional trade association, that's very important because it gives independent authority. I also like the fact that here she is showing her reach, which is 36,000 on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. If you don't have a reasonable following on one of them, what you could do is you could say a combined following on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So for example, in my case, I have a very large audience on LinkedIn, which is over 15,000 followers, but only 2,500 on Instagram. So what I might say is overall, I have a social media impact of in excess of 20,000, but that covers the variety of different channels. What else? It's very important, of course, that you've got your personal details here, like your mobile, your email, and obviously your web address as well. Within Naira's case, now she's laid out something quite different here. So on the front page, she's got a lovely picture of her. interestingly enough, in black and white, which I think is really quite striking. And she's got obviously her contact details there, but also that she has worked overseas, which I think is important for a model, because you're able to determine that she's worked in those different types of countries. I like the fact that she's also put that she's multilingual. That means that she's open to jobs for different brands or in different countries. And the fact that she's got a certain skill set around social media, digital marketing, and photography. I like the fact also that she's broken down her key stats. And more importantly, which is way more detail than we saw with Tanae, the gender split. So we can see here there's quite a large male following here, 62%. And of course, the age differential. So again, if you were a brand wanting to work with Naira, that sort of stat is very, very important, because, you know, it's the followers that one is looking for more than actually just the influencer. Bearing in mind she's a model, I think it's really good that she showed different images about use cases there, and it's not just an upper body shot, but for the full body shot as well in different locations. She's also, in this case, put academic experience, which is optional, of course, and I think that's really good. But I think what's really good here is that she's shown the selected brands and the corporations that she's worked with. So I think that really, and what she's done cleverly, I think, is separate. So you can see that the luxury brands are in the center. It's not just all over the place. She's almost created a nice demarcation, which is good. And here is another example. I don't know this particular influencer, but again, it's just a different layout. She straight away positioned herself as an Instagram influencer. Again, showing her demographic, gender split, and locations of which she's worked with. What I like in this particular one is that she's put a clear mission statement there. And very powerful stats here. For example, a 10% engagement rate is very, very strong. Bearing in mind on Instagram, the average is 1.7%. And she's also put the impressions and reach, all of the sorts of things that a brand is going to want to know. Now, here's another one where, again, showing the different visitors, page views, and demographics. So in this particular one, what's really interesting here, she has a very, very strong female following, unlike Naira's that had quite the reverse. So of course, if you're like a female perfume brand, you might be thinking this is absolutely perfect for us to work with Paige. Again, I like the fact that she's used icons as well. Icons just bring out, you know, the visual stimulus. But what also is good here is that we've got different types of collaboration opportunities. So it's almost like bundle things, you know, option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. So people can really understand what it would be like to work with Paige.
She was big time in email as well, Gordon. Sorry for interrupting.
She was what, sorry?
The biggest following there was email, by the looks of it as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Yeah. I think what's also good here is just by having, this was just an example of a different layout. And this individual has used different boxes, but what they've done is they've shown a tablet and the little iPhone in terms of an image. So I quite like that as well. It just makes it very visually striking. It's not just you know, here's a single page. It's almost using borders, I think, that are relevant to the space. And there's another one here which I think is quite interesting, just in terms of the way that they've laid out. Okay, so those are a few examples of what to think about when putting together a media pack. What I would say though is if you're working with or B2B influencers, you would be perhaps looking, I mean, in my case, for example, I would be talking maybe about podcast, the views that I've got on the podcast. I might be talking about the collaborative work I've done with report writing and how many people have downloaded that. You know, I could be talking about being a speaker at an event and perhaps using some of the exhibitions and shows that I've worked with. And obviously, because I'm an author, I'd be saying that as well. But, you know, there's all sorts of different ways in which you can share it. I always say to people, put yourself in the hands of the person that's looking to buy your services. What would they be looking for? So let's just come off the screen now, and you know, let's have a little chat with everybody and see what they think. So John, first of all, have you got any form of media pack or deck?
No, in a nutshell, but it is now something that I'm really grateful for this today. Actually, my various groups, Facebook groups, are beginning to get traction now. Not massively, but they're all increasing by about 25 to 30 people per week, without a lot of effort now as well.
Yeah, right.
And especially the local business support is getting more and more traction. So I'm looking now to really push my website, which we're just about to launch, and the advertising sector in that as well. So I think it will be.
But you see straight away, I think today is all about not just presenting a proposal to work with somebody, but this is largely about you as an individual. All of you, you know, influencer marketing is about promoting your influence as a thought leader. So what I want, you know, so often we see presentations. I mean, we have one, audience to media, which we talk about to clients. But I think what's important here is you having your own one. So that, you know, what can you bring to the party? You know, I think we probably underestimate our value, and we'll go around the room, because I think so often you're promoting your company, but if you really thought about promoting yourself as a trusted advisor, as a specialist, and somebody that is literally driving engagement, you know, and really, you know, putting together a visual CV or a resume in some shape or form, like some of the ones. I mean, I know that they were slightly more fashion focused today, but I hope everybody's got the gist of the principle of what I'm trying to say here. Is
the actual first one that you show was the template that stood out to me and I've actually taken a note of it and some ideas whilst you were talking. I think that will fit using something similar to that with the support local business network that I'm doing now. I can actually visualize where everything would go using that template. So
because ultimately what we really want as business owners is to almost have the business running without us, so that we elevate ourselves above that to becoming thought leaders and highly influential people, and it's only by showcasing what we're able to do in terms of influencing a community. You know, it's really funny actually, lots of people. I'm actually going to be doing a conference, Zoom conference on Thursday, tomorrow actually, which is all about influence in the financial services. And at the pre-call that we had yesterday, I was talking to the organizer, and I said, you know what, many people of influence don't want to be called an influencer. They may well be CEOs, they may well be entrepreneurs. All of you could and should be thinking yourself as doing the job of an influencer, but you may not necessarily want to refer yourself as an influencer, but just be known as a sort of a go-to person in your niche, or an individual that is a person of influence, which is the ultimate thing is the same as an influencer, but you just don't call yourself that. So for example, in your case, John, somebody that has a growing community, largely people that have a Facebook group, they're influencing other people. So, you could be talking about your Facebook group and how it's grown, and maybe the type of demographics that are in there, the fact that you've got a 20% growth. It's really thinking about, why would I want to join that Facebook community? Why would I want to engage with you? You know what I mean? So, and then maybe have some, you could even have, although they didn't show it, you could even have some little testimonials from 1 or 2 people within that group that could stand out, almost like pull out, and Bibby will know this, involved in publishing, pull out quotes are really powerful because they can draw your attention to, oh, right, that looks good. Look at the way they sell West End shows in London. It's always the testimonials, it's the reviews, it's because you've got one page to kill it, really, haven't you? Yeah, good. Paul, what did you think? What's your take on what I was talking about?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you mentioned it, like it's almost like a different form of a CV, and it's kind of it's much more visual. It's much more because it's got the graphic elements in there, so it's much more interesting than just reading through lots of text lines. I suppose I was thinking of myself. I think where would be the opportunity for me to kind of get that in front of people, because I suppose like all of us have got a Facebook page. I do webinars. I've got a website. And all the various other social media channels, so I could see the benefit of it. But I suppose I'm wondering. This is probably a really silly question, but what would be the context or the opportunity where I'd actually give that to somebody electronically?
Yeah, so that's exactly what you should do. So it's a pic. So I'm just thinking, the image of Tanae on the steps and stuff. In your case, what it could be is you, a picture of you giving a webinar, a picture of you in front of your laptop. I'm trying to think that what is the image that tells me in a nutshell what Paul Jordan does?
Yeah.
It's also, I'm wanting to try and pull you out of your business. So I'm buying into Paul, James, Rose, Frank. Because people connect with people in a different way, so how can we think about what you've got on your CV, but actually visually stimulate it with the reasons, the benefit. I mean, it is about doing a presentation to a client in the same way, but what I'm trying to do is humanize it by having this very personal approach. And I think you'll find that you get much more traction from people because of the way in which you've presented it.
I suppose, that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, Frank, I see. I suppose what I'm wondering is what would be the scenario under which you'd actually give that to somebody, and would it be a PDF or a JPEG or? Oh
no, absolute PDF.
PDF.
Yeah. And ideally, probably a couple of pages. And if you think about it, what am I going to get from working with you? That's my ultimate thing. And what does that 1-2 pager say? So you've already got, the thing is, you've already got the content. All of you have got the content to sell your products and services. But how can we create it in such a way that is visually stimulating and puts you as the fairy on the Christmas tree, person that literally is I am actually the guy to come to.
Yeah.
Because I see lots of media decks and they're devoid of people.
Right. No faces or images on there.
It's like company, and all I'm doing then is I'm comparing one company with another. And then it becomes a position of price. Then it becomes I want you to get away from this. I want you to show your real authority within this and bring your personality out, and so that people feel that they can trust you as an individual that happens to be leading that company. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's definitely I can see myself digging into the CV. It's like a hybrid CV and other stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, you've got some examples there of some templates to have a look at. But what I would just suggest is that on Canva, your adapt on Canva and there are some. I think there is even something. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think even on Canva, it allows you to create media decks. There's a little section there that says media kit. It might say media kit or something. So there are some templates. And what I would do, Paul, is in the next week or so, why don't you just play around with it?
Yeah.
Don't make it massively wordy, create some bullet points and position yourself as a digital marketing expert, and that's perhaps what you should have a look at. And look, if you want me or anybody else to have a look at it, then we will.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, because it's always value feedback. That's how we will improve, isn't it? So thank you. Absolutely. Right, I shall get stuck in.
Frank, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is obviously how you can elevate yourself and be different, which is what it's all about, is potentially by doing something different. And how essential, the question is, how essential is it for it to be on a PDF? I know that is the status quo as such, but could Paul, being a digital marketing expert, potentially do something that is, web orientated? Yes, you could have a PDF version, but could you humanize certain aspects of it by embedding stuff like video, those sorts of things, in order just to make yourself that bit different? Because there's probably lots of PDFs landing in people's inboxes, but that could be a
Well, I think it's a really good idea, Frank. I think what I would do is do both. I would even potentially create a landing page which is just your name. So it's Learn Digital Marketing, and there's another one that says about, if you haven't already done that, about me or about Paul, and then literally do that. I mean, something else you can do as well is a timeline. That's also quite effective, so people can have a sense of perhaps what you've done and what some of the brand. But not overdo it. It's something. The fact I've worked at WH Smith 25 years ago is about as relevant as a pin to a future employer or a potential partner. Really is, do I like this person? Are they going to help me achieve my goals? That's what you need. You need to. I've been saying this to some people recently. Is, would I buy me? Right. If I would I buy me? And if I wouldn't, or there's any hesitation, if you're charging 10 grand for something, or 3 grand, or £300 or dollars or whatever it is, would I buy myself? If I had that money, would I buy myself? And it's an interesting mindset perception, is when you do that, and you, particularly when the numbers go up, and you think, right, okay, would I really, if I gave you the money and you're going to spend it on yourself, I mean, you might always say, yeah, of course I would. But if there's any hint of a hesitation and that's blocking the conversion, then give the person in front of you no reason to doubt buying from you.
I was just thinking to myself now, looking at, and you're right, by the way, it's Media Kit in Canva. Okay, I was just looking there. The thing is, with like 2,000 followers in Support Local Businesses Philippines, they don't know me as a face. My face isn't there, and likewise for the 1,200 that I have in North Cyprus. So I'm wondering whether the Media Kit could be like group based. So, for example, Support Local Businesses in brackets North Cyprus by John Lambert. So you have the bigger picture of the logo of the Support Local Business, and then maybe a small icon picture of myself, bringing me into that equation.
Well, you could, but where, do people trust brands or people?
People.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. Don't get me wrong. I completely agree with you. It's just at the moment, everybody that is contacting me at the moment is contacting the group, as opposed to me as a person. So if I now just forget the group and pop myself out there, why do they believe in me if they're not hearing about me, but they've heard about the group. That's my angle.
I mean, my view would be you need to do whatever you feel comfortable with. It's all it is. It's just creating a sense of authority, and that's why largely I'm about trying to help you as individuals become that go-to person. You know, for example, John, if anybody here has spoken at an event, that should absolutely be on there, you know. If you've appeared as a podcaster, if you've written in a magazine, because all of these things are elevating your trust as a position. I mean, if I didn't know you and I knew the group, I mean, who is John Lambert? Where do I get my reference point of trust?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Understood. Yeah, understood.
Okay, good. Frank, did you want to add any more? What were your thoughts about you know, promoting you now as a bigger personality behind lead generation?
Yeah, I think the media pack has a purpose definitely for me. I think my focus probably personally is probably more on the business side of things, but at the same time, I think there's lots of other elements that I can tap into media pack wise. I think communicating what I do could also have benefit for different targeting of different sectors, that sort of thing. Because I think another thing that you could also look at as well is maybe having sector specific media packs, that sort of stuff, maybe.
Definitely.
And that'd be quite beneficial, because it does act as, you know, a summary really as to who you are, what you do, how you do it, and everything else. So if you can do that, it's actually got more benefit potentially than just using it to try and get speaker slots or, you know, places on panels, whatever it might be. So actually, yeah, there's a far wider reach, and I think even just having a media pack as well shows an extra level of kudos as well, I guess, on top of that. So yeah, really beneficial, very positive. I'm not quite at the stage I want to be going out and doing speaker sessions and this, that, and the other.
Oh, no, and you don't, and don't forget, you don't need to, Frank, because I know that's an issue that has come up from even John probably, or from others. You know, I do not want you to feel that you are going outside of a comfort zone and looking at me. It's about pulling the stuff that you're really good at and positioning it in a way that I'm the person behind this. You can trust me, you know. You know, because if I decide to buy into a person or a service, I'm as much as I am with you, Frank. I'm as much buying into you as a person rather than the rest of your company. So if you were taken over by a business, let's just say, and they carried on the business, but actually you went somewhere else, how likely am I to stay with the business or go with you? Yeah. And it's that sort of mindset I want you guys to have a think about is, you know, where is the trust lie, with the business or with the individual?
Yeah.
Good stuff. James, what do you think?
I'll give you a bit of an
you.
insight there. Though. It's just something I've done quite recently. There wouldn't be as much content as the media pack you showed, but I sort of created some reels, sort of trying to sell myself in reels. There wouldn't be as much content in the reels as what you had in sort of the media pack, but they're getting plenty of traction, like.
Yeah, but I think the fact they're getting traction is great. But what are you doing for your customers? What are you in a position to be able to say, you know, can you put on this deck some of the brands that you've worked with? Can you put the fact that actually you're largely a Southern Irish based expert in digital marketing, you know?
Yeah, well, you might have noticed that I have changed all that on all my social channels, and sort of you don't see me logo in the background. That's been binned. Yeah, I am exactly, and it's just a coincidence that you sort of brought it up today. That is sort of my main focus at the moment, is James Carney, digital marketer, what I can do for clients, what I can do for brands. Like.
Yeah, and that, I think the other thing I was just going to say is that, you know, if I'm buying into you, I want to know what you've done for other people, so it gives me that confidence in some of the results. So maybe there's a great case study there that you could put within the media deck, without it going into too much detail. So you've got a little area that you can put the logos of some of these brands that you've worked with, but also, you know, you could even create a little box out which said a testimonial from one of those clients that said, worked with James, had a dramatic impact on my business. Really want to.
I was only looking at something similar to that actually yesterday. I'm actually going to revamp up my whole website over the next couple of months. I'm going to aim to have it up. I'm going to aim to have it up and running, say, for January, just the start of a new year, But that's exactly what you've just said there. That's exactly what I need to do on my website. My website's down at the moment, and I'm not in a hurry to put it back up. For the moment, for the simple reason being is all my leads and all are coming through all the social channels, through Messenger, through direct messages on all channels. So I am going to do a total revamp of my website. And I'm not going to rush it, if you know what I'm saying.
No. Do your time. One of the other things I think is interesting is that one of those influencers or content creators put collaboration 1, collaboration 2, collaboration 3. So they were able to actually say, if you wanted to work with me, here's an example of some of the because so often when you're pitching to a prospect or a client, they have to speak to other people within the business. So if you've got that on a single sheet or a double page sheet, it allows that to be forwarded to other colleagues much more easily. Whereas actually, if you go onto somebody's website, you wouldn't know how many followers I've got on LinkedIn. You'd have to go to my LinkedIn. You'd have to go to my Twitter.
Yeah, that's something.
So it consolidates it in one place, very succinctly.
I think the way things are going, right? A lot of people are doing direct messaging and all. A lot of people aren't even going onto your website anymore.
No, I know.
They're going on to your. That's why I'm not too concerned that my website's down at the minute, because I'm not getting much feedback from it now. You do need one, because it could be the one big client or the one big contract that they might want to have a look at your website. But you are right. A lot of the stuff is coming through direct message, whether it be on Messenger, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on your TikTok or your Twitter. Like one of the biggest tips I've taken that I've got from this group was not too long ago, was in relation to Twitter, and I wasn't really that active on it, and I changed that. And Twitter is nearly my number one on impressions and
really?
Number one.
Wow, that's cool.
Number one. No, trust me, number one on reach and impressions. Like,
yeah,
I'm getting something like I'm getting something like 3,000 views a week on Twitter. Like,
is that because you're doing videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's that's 4 videos a day, Monday to Friday, and maybe 2 on a Saturday and 2 on a Sunday. But you are getting. But the one thing that I sort of through my own fault, I sort of neglected Twitter a little bit. I've 2,000 followers on Twitter, so when you're putting stuff up, when you have a large following, you are going to get views, like, you know that way.
Oh. Yeah, that's good to hear, matey. Bibi, somebody new into the group. What's your thoughts on what we've been talking about?
Thank you. I think what I was expecting from this session was how to prepare media deck for your services and products, rather than and how to prepare media deck for influence, like as a service for influencers themselves rather than us. However, listening to you all and looking at the file, the the images you showed us, it made me think about how to present our authors in terms of when we're sending out press releases. Because we're sending out press releases in very text-heavy way, rather than showing
Exactly.
what are the offerings that authors have, to show them as influencers. I had never thought of authors as potential influencers. I know we're supposed to be talking about ourselves as influencers, but it made me thinking about authors as thought leaders, as potential people who can be speak on different forums. We tend to send them on festivals and stuff, but we're increasingly start looking at authors for podcasts, for speaking engagements and stuff like that. So that's been interesting on that level. And on a personal level, I get to speak a lot because I was a former academic, but I'm also invited to speak around publishing, and so which I tend to 90% of the time I tend to say no to. And but it's really made me to think about how I also present myself.
Absolutely. Great. That's really good to hear, Bibi. So I absolutely agree that authors are potential influencers. They are people of a position of knowledge. Ironically, though, a lot of authors are rubbish at marketing themselves. They sometimes think the publisher is going to do all that for them, and I must admit, when I got into partnership with Kogan Page, or you may know them as a business publisher, I sort of thought they would do more, and then I suddenly realized, oh my goodness, I really got to paddle quick. But actually, it's been a fantastic partnership, and it's one of the reasons why I've spoken on a number of their webinars. I have obviously done the collaboration with a Brazilian partner that they introduced me to. I've done a course for that Brazilian publisher, and most of all, and the biggest thing I've ever done, is I've made a film in Brazil, all on the back of obviously that one. But that said, although the introduction was made from me to the publisher, I pushed a lot more of it over the line. I said, look, let's make the book really sell. What about doing a film? What, and just that relationship that I had with that particular company. But I think, as you say, authors are in a position where they can be bloggers. They could earn a lot more money from creating courses, from doing things, paid speaking. The amount of times that people are asked to speak for free. Well, why? You're coming in a position of authority. I mean, I'm doing an event on Thursday to Digital Marketing World Forum. Okay, I'm not going to be paid very much, but I'm going to be paid something, because they are charging ticket prices, they are charging sponsors. Why should I just give up my time and my X number of years experience for nothing to be able to do that? So if you want to buy into Gordon as an expert, I can write blogs for you, I can run workshops for you, and all of those things could easily be put forward on a media deck. And Bibi, it sounds like you're in the real hub of your community. You are that go-to person that people know. You're in a position to be able to really drive a lot of influence and opportunities for the authors that you represent. Now, admittedly, is it your company? Do you own it?
Yes.
Right. So, this should be what we've been talking about today, right up your street, really. And I'm absolutely pleased that I've done something different to what you expected. Because in a way it is about people of influence. It's in a position of authority, and you are a community builder. You are a super connector, and those are the sorts of people who are highly influential. You probably just don't know it. But anyway, it's good to get your thoughts. Tajare, what's your thoughts on what we've been talking about?
I really like the way how you say that, as a business owner, I put my personal brand on the back burner, and I don't do anything related to myself when it comes to pitching of my business. When I pitch my business, I talk about my business. I don't talk about the things I have done as a business owner. And you are right. It makes the person that you're trying to do business with trust you, because like you said, people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. So that's what I really liked about this conversation.
Yeah, great. Good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you. Rose, what's your thoughts on what we've been talking about? Rose? Okay, we'll come back to Rose in a second. Marielle, what do you think? Lovely. What do you think? Oh, see, I've put them on camera now. They've all gone shy. Oh dear. But you know, it is a real fascinating area, isn't it? This whole area of these media decks and putting it forward. If you were just rolling back to what Bibi was saying in a commercial environment, there are all sorts of different media decks, even for investors. I mean, an investor's media deck is very different to one in which you would have in terms of promoting your services. But I don't think, and I was just, you know, thinking about the ones that we do for audience to media, they are actually quite long. You know, there are about sort of 20 pages, and I've been thinking that they are really too long. Because really, and it's interesting when I've been talking to a potential customer, the fact that we've worked with, you know, like 80 or 90 brands, so what? What they really wanted to know is, but what brands have you worked with in my space? So if I'm a luxury hotel, what other luxury brands have you worked with? The fact that you work with Tesco, it's yawn, so have the other companies, you know? So I think making the deck super personal is something that you should definitely consider as well. So we've largely talked about an open deck that fits all, but if there's an opportunity, just as Frank was saying, to sectorize it or make it personal, it doesn't take a lot, and particularly if you've done it in Canva. You know, think about every client as though you were going for a job interview. Think about the preparation that you would put into going for a job interview, wouldn't you? You'd make sure that all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. And yet so often when we go to a client, we just churn out the same old pitch with a slight sort of variation. And quite frankly, I just don't think it's good enough in today's world. I mean, one of the things that, I mean, I'm going to get a new client over the line very soon, hopefully, but the deck I was given to by my team at Audience to Media just wasn't good enough in my mind. It was almost as though this is the same deck that I've seen for 3 other clients that with some slight variants, but largely the same. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it's quite complicated. And I think the other thing we've got to do is to strip out jargon, strip out stuff that people don't really understand, get to the point about understanding what the client's problem is, and and actually visually saying that. I'm not now talking about a personal deck. I'm talking about a more broader media deck. So 3 things challenges that you have. Yeah, you want to put that in the deck. So that suggests to you that you've understood already, or even if you've not, if this is the first meeting and you want to go through that, 3 common issues and challenges that people have within your sector. You know, that may be something, the route that you go down. And then you go down about, well, here are some options as to how we think you could solve that problem. And just to give you then the confidence that we know what we're doing, here's some examples of some case studies of other people that we've worked in a similar sector and the likely return on the results.
Yeah.
And then the last slide should be about next steps.
You know, Gordon, when we demonstrate our software for the restaurants and hotels, yeah, we have a standard pack that we use across the board. But when we have our foot in the door and we're actually there at a meeting, there at a demonstration, that pack is stripped away completely. And if we're going to demonstrate to a Japanese restaurant, then invariably the logos and the samples of the restaurants that we work with are stripped back to the Japanese, to the Koreans, and so on and so forth, so that they can see that we're actually working with that type of business. The menu that we demonstrate is actually a Japanese menu.
In their language?
No, Japanese as in the food types. You know, the actual, you know, so if it's a sushi or if it's a ramen or whatever. So that's the kind of thing that we do when it comes to hotels and restaurants. Again, when we do a hotel, you know, if it's something like a JW Marriott hotel, we won't be disclosing that we, you know, a 2-bob hotel that charges £20 a night. We'll talk about the Renaissance, or we'll talk about the, you know, those type of brands. So yeah, I think you're completely right there, that you must target that stuff for the type of customer that you're going to see.
The other reason why I think it's important is because if somebody's going to convey what you are saying in the meeting, the chances are only a small percentage of what's said in that meeting with that one client will be passed on. The enthusiasm, the energy, the detail that come out of the conversation. So let's just say, John, you and I have a conversation and you're my potential customer, but actually that person's got to get sign off and approval within their business. You then send my media deck, which is very bland. How much of that is lost in, oh, you've got to work with these guys. Gordon's an amazing guy. Oh, well, why? What's his results? I don't, because they haven't met me, or they haven't met, you know what I mean? So that's the reason why you have to leave no stone unturned in that media deck that gives that sense of relatability and conversion.
Definitely.
What about how about the idea of a QR code on it, so they could scan it and it would take them to a video, like you say, oh, hi, I'm Paul, blah, 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 in addition to all the static information on the media kit itself?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, guys, really loved seeing you today. I thought this was really, really a good session. I'm sorry, Mariel and Rose, I didn't get the chance to speak to you anymore, but it's lovely to see you guys here, and I hope you have a lovely day. Lovely to see you, Bibby. I hope you enjoyed it. Do reach out to me if there's any other help and support that you need. And, you know, do join us again next Wednesday, as always, and there'll be another subject. Can't remember what it is, but there'll be another subject. Anyway, have a good day, everybody, and see you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.